March 8th, 2014. A passenger aircraft carrying 239 people prepared for what should have been a routine flight. The plane was Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Its destination was Beijing. The journey was expected to take just a few hours. Nobody on board knew they were about to become part of one of the greatest mysteries in modern history. Families waited. Passengers settled into their seats. Crew members completed their final checks. Everything appeared normal. Then the aircraft vanished. For nearly an hour, everything appeared normal. The aircraft climbed smoothly into the night sky. Passengers relaxed. Some watched movies. Others slept. Flight attendants continued their routine duties. Then, something unusual happened. At approximately 1:19 a.m., air traffic control instructed the pilots to contact Vietnamese controllers as the aircraft approached international airspace. The response came from the cockpit. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Those would become the final known words from the aircraft. Less than 2 minutes later, the plane disappeared from civilian radar. Controllers attempted to make contact. No response. Again, they tried. Nothing. At first, nobody panicked. Communication issues occasionally happen in aviation. But as minutes passed, concern began to grow. The aircraft had simply vanished. No distress call. No emergency signal. No warning. It was as if Flight MH370 had disappeared into thin air. Meanwhile, families waited at airports. They had no idea that something was terribly wrong. Authorities initially believed the aircraft might have experienced a technical problem. But what investigators would soon discover raised even more questions. Military radar data revealed something shocking. The aircraft had not simply vanished. It had turned around. Somehow, after losing contact, the Boeing 777 changed direction. Instead of continuing toward Beijing, it flew back across Malaysia. Investigators were stunned. Why would a commercial airliner suddenly reverse course? Who was controlling the aircraft? And why had nobody reported an emergency? The mystery was only beginning. As investigators analyzed military radar data, a disturbing picture emerged. Flight MH370 had continued flying for hours after disappearing from civilian radar. The aircraft crossed back over Malaysia. It traveled across the Strait of Malacca. Then it headed into one of the most remote regions on Earth, the southern Indian Ocean, an area thousands of miles from major airports, an area where very few people would ever see the aircraft. But how was this possible? Investigators discovered that the aircraft's transponder had been disabled. Without it, civilian radar systems could no longer identify the plane. Someone had intentionally or unintentionally caused the aircraft to disappear from normal tracking systems. The discovery changed everything. This was no longer a simple aviation accident. The possibility of human involvement became impossible to ignore. Attention quickly focused on the pilots. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah was highly experienced. He had logged thousands of flight hours. Friends described him as professional and knowledgeable. The co-pilot was also experienced. Investigators searched their backgrounds, their computers, their personal lives, anything that might explain the disappearance. Yet no definitive evidence emerged. The deeper investigators looked, the more confusing the mystery became. Every answer seemed to create two new questions. And somewhere over the Indian Ocean, Flight MH370 continued its final journey into the unknown. The world watched as one of the largest search operations in history began. Ships were deployed. Aircraft scanned vast stretches of ocean. Satellite companies provided valuable data. Governments coordinated across multiple countries. Yet finding a modern passenger jet proved far more difficult than anyone expected. Weeks passed, then months. Still nothing. No aircraft, no passengers, no answers. Investigators relied heavily on satellite communications data. Although MH370 had disappeared from radar, automated signals continued to communicate with satellites. These signals became known as the famous satellite handshakes. Using complex calculations, experts estimated where the aircraft might have ended its journey. The results pointed toward the southern Indian Ocean, a remote region filled with rough seas and extreme weather. Search teams focused their efforts there. The operation became one of the most expensive aviation searches ever conducted. But despite years of effort, the aircraft remained missing. The mystery grew larger with every passing day. As years passed, investigators faced a difficult reality. Despite one of the largest search efforts in history, Flight MH370 remained missing. Then in July 2015, a breakthrough finally occurred. A piece of aircraft debris was discovered on Réunion Island, a small French island located in the Indian Ocean. Experts carefully examined the object. The result was significant. It belonged to a Boeing 777, and investigators confirmed it came from MH370. For the first time, physical evidence of the missing aircraft had been found. The discovery proved that the plane had crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean, but it did not explain why or where. Over the following years, additional debris washed ashore on coastlines across Africa and nearby islands. Each piece helped investigators better understand the aircraft's final journey. Yet the main wreckage remained missing. Without the flight recorders, many crucial questions could not be answered. The mystery continued. Families of the passengers desperately searched for closure. Many refused to give up hope. Others demanded new investigations. The disappearance had become more than an aviation mystery. It had become a global tragedy. And still nobody knew exactly what happened on board Flight MH370 during its final hours. As evidence slowly emerged, theories began to spread around the world. Some believed a catastrophic mechanical failure caused the disaster. Others suspected deliberate human action. Theories involving hijacking appeared. Some suggested pilot suicide. Others proposed an onboard fire or sudden loss of oxygen. There were even more extreme theories: secret military operations, cyber attacks, and unexplained events. Yet none of these theories have ever been proven. The truth remains hidden somewhere beneath thousands of meters of ocean. Today, more than a decade after the disappearance, Flight MH370 remains one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. 239 people boarded the aircraft. Families expected them to arrive safely. Instead, the aircraft vanished. No distress call, no clear explanation, no final answers. Despite years of investigations, advanced technology, and international cooperation, many questions remain unanswered. What happened inside the cockpit? Why did the aircraft change course? Who was responsible? Or was nobody responsible at all? Perhaps one day the wreckage will be fully discovered. Perhaps the flight recorders will finally reveal the truth. Until then, MH370 remains one of the world's most haunting unsolved mysteries. A modern aircraft disappeared, an entire flight vanished, and more than 10 years later, the world is still searching for answers. What do you think happened to Flight MH370? Let us know in the comments. And subscribe for more unsolved mysteries and true crime documentaries.